candidate filing for next year's primary election doesn't open until December.
We've already got our eye, though, on one key race in the state legislature. Phil Berger has been a state senator for 25 years and Senate president for the last 15. Sam Page has been Rockingham County sheriff for almost 30 years. There is a chance that when the dust settles, though, they will both be doing something else.
It's time for a new sheriff in Raleigh, and I'm that guy.
Is Sam Page the underdog, in your opinion, since he's the challenger, hoping to unseat the incumbent?
He's not going to win, if that's what you mean.
This is certainly a heavyweight contest.
Next year, Republican primary voters in State Senate District 26, which includes all of Rockingham County and part of Guilford, will be taking part in one of the most interesting legislative races North Carolina's seen in a long time. Sam Page, Rockingham County Sheriff since 1998, plans to challenge Phil Berger, a state senator for the last quarter century and Senate president since 2010.
We've got some great messaging out there to let people know what I stand for and who I am. And it's not too many places I can't go that people don't know me. So I think we've worked very hard to let people know I work for them, and if they have a question or problem, they know who to go to.
The record that we've built of delivering for the taxpayers and the people of North Carolina and the taxpayers and the people of Rockingham and Guilford County is a strong one, and I look forward to the campaign.
Berger has run unopposed in the last 6 GOP primaries and 9 of the last 10. Page has faced one primary challenger in the last 15 years, and when he did, he got 80% of the vote. Win or lose, this will be the end of his time with the sheriff's office. His 7th term is up next November, and he can't run in 2 different races.
I work for the people of Rockingham County, and I want to continue working for the people of Rockingham County, Guilford, and this district. I want to help do what I can do best, which I've learned as sheriff, is to protect and serve the citizens. I can take that experience to the state level, and I think I can make a difference. And that's why I'm running. I also recognize how important it is to listen to the people that you serve. I think sometimes in the leadership situation, the longer you stay in those leadership roles, I think a lot of times you start to wonder, who is that person listening to?
Yeah, so I think he's probably looking in the mirror. He's been the sheriff of Rockingham County for over 20 years. It's no secret that he spent the last 7 or 8 years at the border, focused more on things outside of the county. It's no secret that the jail in Rockingham County, because of his failure to look after the job he has now, has deteriorated to the point where insurance premiums for the county have gone through the roof.
Casinos may very well be on voters' minds next March. Right now, there are only 3 of them in the entire state, all on tribal lands. They're illegal everywhere else. But a couple of years ago, Senator Berger was strongly in favor of them as an economic engine and as a way of keeping people from driving just over the border to gamble in Virginia.
I went up to Danville and looked at the parking lot, and my goodness, you would think you were in the middle of North Carolina.
A lot of people in Rockingham County didn't want a casino in their community, and they were vocal about it, including Sheriff Page himself.
I love Mayberry, and there's nothing wrong with living in a Mayberry thought process. But if I had my choices, I'd rather live in Mayberry than I would Las Vegas.
Now, Senator Berger says he's opposed to casinos, and the issue is dead.
The votes are not here in the General Assembly. I don't think the votes can be cobbled together, and I don't think it's something that we need to spend any time on.
Look, as long as the legislature's in session, everything's on the table. That's my opinion.
Wake Forest political science professor Dr. John Dinan says it would be a surprise to see someone as powerful and established as Phil Berger lose in their primary, but that doesn't mean it can't happen.
Phil Berger upset a lot of people with his stance on and his approach to getting casinos through 2 years ago. The longer that we go away from that, the more that Berger makes clear that he is not supporting casinos moving forward anymore, the more that we get back to the normal state of things, which is Phil Berger is the leader of the Senate and is perhaps the most important person in North Carolina politics. To defeat someone like that in their own primary is an uphill battle.
Sheriff Page has been a staunch supporter of President Trump and his policies for years. He tells me he would seek and welcome an endorsement from the Commander-in-Chief. Phil Berger already has the endorsement of U.S. Senator Ted Budd.